Imagine the basketball world holding its breath every time Zion Williamson steps onto the court. You know the feeling, that mix of excitement and nervousness, like watching a high-wire act without a safety net. One moment, he's bulldozing through defenders like a wrecking ball wrapped in velvet gloves, and the next moment, the whole world wonders, wait, is he hurt again? Zion is basketball's biggest paradox. A 6'6", 270-pound human highlight reel with the agility of a cat and the power of a freight train. But somehow, also the injury-prone enigma who leaves fans and analysts scratching their heads. Is he the next generational superstar or a cautionary tale in the making? You've probably seen those jaw-dropping dunks, the viral clips of him flying through the air, or the highlight reels where he looks unstoppable. But behind all that flair lies a complicated story of pain, promise, controversy, and questions that keep piling up with every missed game. And here's the kicker. Despite all the hype and flashes of brilliance, Zion hasn't played in a single NBA playoff game yet. Not one. For a guy drafted first overall with a skill set like his, that feels, well, wild. So here's what I want you to think about right now. Is Zion Williamson's career a ticking time bomb, a potential waiting to explode? Or is it already diffusing before our eyes? If you had to bet, would you put your money on a dominant prime filled with MVPs and championships, or a career defined by what could have been? Hold that thought. Because over the next half hour, we're peeling back every layer of Zion's incredible journey. From his freakish genetics and meteoric rise in high school and college, to his battles with injuries, weight struggles, off-court drama, and that elusive, healthy version of himself we all hope to see. This isn't just a basketball story. It's a saga of human limits, expectations, and what happens when raw talent meets real-life hurdles. By the end, you might find yourself rooting for Zion like never before, or questioning everything you thought you knew about him. Ready? Let's get into the paradox that is Zion Williamson. What's the most memorable Zion moment you've seen? His dunks, his plays, or even the off-court news? Drop your thoughts below because I'm curious what stands out to you the most.
The early years and rise of a freak athlete.
Before Zion Williamson was shattering rims and breaking ankles in the NBA, he was just a kid trying to find his place. A kid who, believe it or not, started his basketball journey as a 5'9" point guard. Yeah, that Zion. It's hard to imagine now, given the 6'6", 280-pound powerhouse we see today, but back then, he was a different kind of player entirely. So, how did this kid transform from a relatively unassuming point guard into one of the most physically dominant forces basketball has ever seen? It all starts with the family DNA. Zion's got the genes that scream athlete. His dad, Lateef Williamson, was a 6'3" defensive lineman in college who weighed north of 260 pounds. That's a big dude. And his mom, Sharonda Sampson, was a promising college sprinter. Talk about speed meets strength. But raw genetics only tell part of the story. Between 8th and 9th grade, Zion went through an insane growth spurt, shooting up from 5'9" to 6'3" in basically 1 year. Now, growing that fast sounds awesome, right? But it came with a cost. Intense pain in his knees and back. Imagine growing taller literally overnight while your muscles and bones are struggling to keep up. It was rough. And some days, he just wanted to give up. But here's where Zion's grit shines. When the pain finally eased, something clicked. He wasn't just tall anymore. He was a freak athlete, with the coordination and ball skills of a point guard and the size of a small tank. It was like the universe had put all the pieces together perfectly. Almost. During his sophomore year of high school, Zion was averaging 28 points, 10 rebounds, 4 blocks, and 3 steals per game. By his junior year, he was downright unstoppable, averaging 37 points, 13 rebounds, 3 steals, and 2.5 blocks a game, leading his team to back-to-back regional championships and smashing state records along the way. Here's a fun fact that blew up social media. Celebrities started rocking his jersey and showing up at his games just to catch a glimpse of this prodigy. The hype was real. By the time he was a senior, Zion was basically a grown man playing with kids, dominating the court, throwing down tomahawk dunks, alley-oops, and those ridiculous 360 windmills that made highlight reels explode. But it wasn't just his size and athleticism that set him apart. It was the way he moved, with grace and agility that defied physics.
Imagine a freight train that can pirouette midair and change direction faster than your eyes can follow. This combination turned Zion into the most hyped high school player since LeBron James, and that's saying something. Of course, with all the hype comes pressure. Everyone wanted to know where Zion would go to college. Spoiler alert, he chose Duke, joining forces with other top prospects Cam Reddish and RJ Barrett. Together, they were the first team ever to have the top 3 high school recruits in modern recruiting history. Expectations? Sky high. And Zion, he did not disappoint. If you were a college coach back then, would you have picked Zion knowing all the injury concerns ahead, or would the risk have scared you off? Let me know what you think.
Duke dominance and the path to the NBA. When Zion Williamson stepped onto Duke's hardwood floor, the college basketball world held its breath. This wasn't just another recruit. This was the guy everyone had been buzzing about for years, the living highlight reel who could dunk on anyone, break records, and change the game in a blink. In his very first college game, Zion did something unheard of. He scored 28 points, instantly breaking Duke's school scoring record for a debut. And it didn't stop there. Against Syracuse, he dropped 35 points, breaking the freshman scoring record, and racked up the most 25-point games ever by a Duke freshman. The guy was a human highlight machine, a walking highlight reel with the skill of a seasoned pro. But then came the moment that sent shockwaves, not just through college basketball, but the entire sports world. On February 20th, 2019, during a nationally televised game with former President Barack Obama in attendance, Zion's foot ripped through his Nike shoe as he took a jump, causing a freak injury, a grade 1 knee sprain. The injury was bizarre and almost cartoonish, but the fallout was real. Nike's stock took a massive hit, losing $1.1 billion in value the next day, because suddenly everyone was worried about the durability of their superstar's signature shoe. Despite the setback, Zion came back just a few weeks later with a vengeance. On March 14th, he exploded for 29 points, 14 rebounds, and 5 steals in the ACC quarterfinals, going a perfect 13 for 13 from the field. The best shooting performance in Duke's history. Everyone was hyped heading into March Madness. CBS even set up a special Zion Cam to capture every electrifying moment of his tournament run. In the opening rounds, Zion scored 25 points to start, then leveled up to 32 points with 11 rebounds and 4 assists in a nail-biting win over UCF.
But in a crushing upset, Duke's magical run was cut short by Michigan State in the Elite Eight despite Zion's 24 points and 14 rebounds. It was the first major blemish on what had otherwise been a historic freshman season. Still, Zion's numbers were jaw-dropping. 22.6 points, 8.9 rebounds, 2.1 steals, and 1.8 blocks per game. He shot an incredible 68% from the field, second best in the entire NCAA, and set the record for the highest field goal percentage by any freshman ever. There was no doubt he was ready to take the next step. The NBA was calling. Draft day and the first steps in the NBA.
On draft night 2019, the New Orleans Pelicans held the #1 overall pick, and the buzz was deafening. No one was surprised when the name Zion Williamson was announced. This was the guy who was supposed to be the next generational superstar, a player with the rare combination of size, speed, and skill that makes franchises win for decades. But
Before the season even began, Zion faced his first major hurdle, a torn meniscus in a preseason game. What was supposed to be a 6-week injury dragged on for 3 months as the Pelicans carefully managed their prized asset. Finally, on January 20th, 2020, Zion made his NBA debut against the Spurs. The first 3 quarters were rough. A strict minutes limit, nerves, and a slow start meant only 5 points. But then he exploded, suddenly hitting threes. Remember, Zion was never expected to shoot threes, scoring 17 straight points and igniting the crowd. Only 2 games later, he notched his first double-double and went on a 13-game streak of 20-plus point games, an NBA record for teenagers. During the pandemic-shortened season, he averaged 22.5 points on 58% shooting, along with 6.3 rebounds and 2.1 assists per game. A strong rookie campaign. The next season, Zion took it up another notch, setting an NBA record by scoring 20-plus points on 50% shooting for 25 consecutive games. He was a wrecking ball, bulldozing defenders while moving with grace few big men possess. At this point in Zion's career, were you convinced he was the next LeBron, or did you have doubts about his injury history and long-term durability? Drop your thoughts below. The injury struggles begin. Unfortunately, the story of Zion Williamson in the NBA quickly became one of injuries and missed opportunities. Just as he was hitting his stride, he suffered a Jones fracture in his foot that sidelined him indefinitely. His projected return was pushed back repeatedly, eventually costing him the entire 2022 season. During that year, the Pelicans struggled without him and were bounced in the first round of the playoffs, a painful reminder of just how much the team depended on Zion's unique talents. Rumors swirled about his weight and lifestyle, and fans began questioning whether he was committed to the grind required to stay healthy in the NBA. His contract was partially guaranteed, linked to games played and a weight clause requiring him to stay under a certain body fat percentage and total weight. Even when he returned for the 2023 season, Zion was still visibly carrying extra pounds. Though he was scoring points and showing flashes of brilliance, he looked sluggish on defense and in transition. Zion's rollercoaster journey, 2023-2025. Zion Williamson's 2023 to 2025 NBA seasons have been a mix of dazzling highs and frustrating setbacks. After missing all of 2022 due to injury, Zion returned, showing flashes of his dominant potential, dropping career-high scoring games and earning Player of the Week honors. But injuries, especially recurring hamstring issues, kept interrupting his progress and limited his playing time. Off the court, Zion faced distractions and drama, which added pressure and uncertainty around his future. Despite these challenges, he showed signs of growth in 2024, improving his passing and defense, and helping the Pelicans to one of their best seasons in years. Yet, injuries struck again at crucial moments, robbing him of playoff experience. In 2025, ongoing injuries and disciplinary issues tested both Zion and the Pelicans' patience. But his improved conditioning and flashes of brilliance hinted at what could be if he stays healthy and focused. At 25, Zion's path remains uncertain. Will he overcome adversity to become the superstar many hoped for, or will injuries and distractions define his legacy? Only time will tell. All right, folks, now I want to hear your take. Do you think Zion can finally break the cycle and become the superstar we all hoped for? Or is this roller coaster ride just going to keep going? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because I'm seriously curious what you think. If you enjoyed diving deep into Zion's story with me, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps out the channel and lets me know you want more NBA drama and stories like this. And hey, if you're new here, why not subscribe and ring that bell? Trust me, you don't want to miss the next wild NBA saga we're unpacking. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one.